What happens when you get Ilana Glazer and Michelle Buteau together in one room? Well, we're about to find out. They are here to promote their new movie at their premiere for Babes. Please give them a warm welcome to the South by Southwest studio. How we doing, gals?
Hey.
Yeah, see, it's already lit. I feel like we already know each other really well.
I agree.
You know, it's kind of crazy seeing you guys play off each other in a movie. Like the chemistry on point. Loved it. Laughed my ass off. And I just want to talk about, like, this is a film about pregnancy, right? And we've gotten films like this before, like Baby Mama, Knocked Up, things like that. But can you talk about kind of like creating this new form of it where it's like getting pregnant on your own terms and kind of creating a film like this? Like, Ilana, you wrote it, so I think you should kind of kick us off here.
Yeah, I wrote this movie with Josh Rabinowitz, and really it's the brainchild of me and Josh and Susie Fox. We all produced the movie. And we were all in early stages of parenting, and we brainstormed and got all our ideas down about the absurdity of deciding to have kids, having kids. But what really anchored this story and the writing of it was how your friendships change in that time in your life. And not just, we've been talking all day about as new parents and as young parents, how your friendships change, but also if you don't have kids, you choose not to have kids, watching your friends become parents, and you're like, this is gonna change our relationship, and it's that tug, and it's painful, Like I have it with my friends, and I can feel their side. I have a child and a partner, but you feel both sides of it, that push and pull, and it's like almost like this adult puberty. There's this awkwardness that we were so privileged to have Michelle's spirit and beauty and gifts in this movie. And I think that we've known each other for decades. We've been close friends and met through comedy decades ago. And what was so nice about our being able to just jump right into our authentic friendship was going right there about that awkwardness. It was easier to tap into the awkwardness and the sadness, the loss that you feel too at those times.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And also, my kids are a couple of years older than yours, and so even my character has the kids before, and so there was like already so many things to sort of, it was like a beautiful jump off. But working with Ilana and having her and her friend write this, they're truth tellers, and so much comedy comes out of seeking the truth, being real, understanding what pain is, growing through it, getting to the other side of the mountain, looking back, saying, if I'm going through this, other people are going through it too. How do we talk about it? And no matter what, like if it's funny or gross, raunchy, sexy, like sassy, all the things. And so, I hate to say we were culling with all the colors in the in the crayon box, but we were.
But it's true.
It's true.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Well,
it was good.
As someone who has a 6-year-old as well, and
you do?
I have a 6-year-old daughter,
God
and
bless
so
you.
the single parent as well. So having like
Wow.
best friends from high school, I understand that your characters
Yeah.
Dawn and Eden have been friends for a long time.
Right, and you live close to where you grew up.
Yes, exactly.
And that's true of us in the movie.
So I just love the what's the word? Universality, universalness
That's the word
of this
now.
movie. It's the word now. You say it enough, it ends up in Webster. So it happens. But I really love that theme of friendship and growing up and like outgrowing each other, evolving or evolving away from each other. Michelle, can you talk a little bit about like your character's friendship with Eden and kind of like those places that you are at in your lives, and like how does that play out in the film?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I'm the only child, and so I am one of those people that consider my friends my chosen family. And so, I notice with siblings, everybody just sort of assumes their role. Even if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, you go back for Christmas, everyone's just like,
Somebody's
the older,
in
the middle.
charge.
Yeah, everyone takes their, and so what I love about this friendship is this is how I treat my friends, like they are my family. And so, for better or for worse, we'll be there, but like we definitely need some time to figure out if we're still gonna be there as hard together, if that makes sense, because it is really hard when you feel like you want to get to the next level of adulting and your friend is sort of stagnant. Because like one thing I know I can't do is have the same conversation over and over with a friend. I'm just like, you gotta make a move now, honey. All this therapy is getting expensive.
I'll tell my boys,
now.
I'm like, hey.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like,
Totally.
yeah.
Pay me if you're gonna get therapy lessons, like therapy from me, you know?
Yes.
That's right. That's
I
right.
am not in network, but you know, when Ilana told me about this movie, she said it's sort of like a rom-com for friendship, and I'm like, I can get with that. I can get with that.
I like what you said there. Like one of my favorite versions of that is I Love You Man. I call it a romantic comedy. And so I love that this is like kind of like its own thing, a rom-com for friendships. So I really love just like how personal this movie feels, right? Obviously you've been friends for decades, as you said. And there's a lot of scenes that I'm just looking at going, they're improvising. This is not acting, this is like real life. But I want you guys to tell me now, what were some of those moments that were probably just lifted straight out of your lives and you said, let's play this out on screen? Was it, you know, water breaking in the movie theater and saying, hey, let's go get lunch? Or was it any other scene that kind of were inspired by real life events?
So much of the movie was inspired by real life events. When Michelle crawls down that hallway in labor, that actually happened to our producer Susie Fox's friend. Because when you have a second kid, everything's a little bit opened up but from before. So she knows someone who was laboring and delivered driving herself to the hospital and crawled in the hallway at the hospital. That happened, and Michelle captured that moment. Like it feels like it's happening, the way that Michelle puts herself into her performance. You know, some people experience pregnancy horniness. Just some people do, and we reflected on that as well in a scene where my character is coming home from getting groceries and just eyeing that produce. Like sometimes it's just like glistening, you know? Yeah. And sometimes it escalates to meats. Okay.
Dude, I love the step out process of that. Like,
Yeah.
Those zucchinis.
Yeah. Hey.
They kind of wanted it.
Yeah.
They were asking for it. I'm not gonna say that. We're not gonna say that.
Zucchinis.
No, we respect zucchinis in this house, this studio.
Yes.
That type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I also love how the friendship gets like strained in ways where normally, you know, you guys would just kind of roll with it, right? Like there's this interesting thing where you guys have this tradition in the movie, and no matter where you are, you guys have to be there for that tradition. And then the further along, it's kind of like, nah, girl, this is crazy. Like, why are we still doing this?
Yeah.
I just want to know, like, on still the topic of this is kind of like based off of real events, are there moments where you had like a crazy friend request in real life?
Oh my, so many. I say no to everything now.
I know.
But yeah, it's like, let's go to St. Martin, but like the little island of St. Martin where there's like no airport, and you have to like take 3 airplanes there with your kids and then like a little boat. And it's like, girl, you crazy? Or come visit me in Maine. On purpose? Like, yeah, when people ask me to go somewhere besides the 5 boroughs I live in, I'm just like, send me a picture. I'll send you, I'll FaceTime you, high-speed internet. So I want to be there, but I realize I don't have the bandwidth, and I will be there in other ways.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
like
get
I'm the
that.
person that's definitely gonna like bail you out. But also don't do something stupid where I gotta bail you out.
You're stretching it a little too far with that.
A little
one.
bit.
Oh my gosh. Like having those conversations is really tough, and I'm happy to have watched this film and to kind of being like, they get it.
Yeah.
They get what that
And you know
means.
what's funny too? Like a lot of the movies that you referenced in this interview so far have men in them, and this is what this is why I love this movie, and this is why this movie is important. Because if you think about like 2 women living their lives, doing something as real as having kids, trying to hold down a loving relationship with a husband, a clean house, a job, you know, try to get promoted and try to take care of these kids, like. I can't even think of 2 women in a movie that survive. It's like Thelma and Louise. And they were like, we can't do it, so we gotta drive off the, you know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? So it's just like, this movie is hilarious, but it's important because not only is it making people feel safe, seen, heard, educated, and entertained, it's also laying down the groundwork for other women who are just like, oof, like this.
Yeah.
Let's do it like this, but my own spin on it.
And I love like,
So the next time in interviews, we could just be like, you know, like that movie Babes.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Like
So we
need
just
to
have
get it,
more
like,
reference.
you know,
Yes,
I
it's in the
feel like
culture.
the pool is so small.
Yes.
And I feel like we can only reference Bridesmaids so much.
That's right.
You know what I'm
the
saying?
pool's small, but I'm still not trying to get my hair wet. You get it?
You know, and you don't have to take a poop in the street. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's other things we could do. But like on that note, like what I really want to get into is like this is a film about a parent, like you're in a relationship, a loving relationship, but it's hard for you, and then you like have this connection, but it gets snatched away, so you're doing this by yourself. And I love the exploration of the struggles of both sides. Yeah, you have it all. It looks like you have it all together, but there's a struggle there. Yeah, like you're by yourself. There's totally a struggle there. So can you talk to me about like balancing the comedy with that real life struggle that it takes just being a parent, whether single or in a relationship?
There's so much gain when you choose to have a kid, and there's so much more feelings, more things happening, more brains, more bodies to take care of. But the there's loss too. As much as you gain, you have to make space for it by loss, and there's so much grief, and we hit that grief really hard in Eden's storyline, but there's like that long con of the grief and loss storyline between our characters. And I think that's the balance that's like really painful to look at and acknowledge, because you kind of want to believe it's all just more. Right. But there's so much loss in adulthood. And it was tricky to find like the perfect tone, because we get so goofy. We get so silly.
Silly, but then when it gets back to that real it's just like, oh wow. The best way I could describe it is there was a director, Bong Joon-ho, he said what he likes to do with his audience, and I feel like you've achieved it here, is that you like to keep people laughing and then have them look down and go, where did I get that cut from? Right? And I'm like laughing my ass off, and I'm just kind of like, wait a minute, like I'm feeling
on a mug.
You see what I'm saying? It's like, where am I getting this emotion from? And it's because you guys hit that beautifully. Amazing.
Thank you.
Now, moving away from the struggle, because this is a fun movie as well, right? But I want to talk about the pat on the back moments in your real lives, right? As a mother, it's really, really hard. As a parent, it's really, really hard. But do you have like a real life, like pat yourself on the back, like I did that, like type of thing in motherhood?
Well, Michelle is an amazing champion of a friend. She'll send a voice memo or a video of like, girl, listen, you're doing it all. She'll give you a catchphrase a day. Just so incredible.
We gotta hype each other up.
I get like a voice memo like, it's Michelle Buteau. We've been friends for 20 years.
You're just still a fan, like,
and like it just like this world is just so harsh, and to have to create moments of softness and to recognize and see, it is so meaningful. It lasts.
Yeah, I did that. So this movie has like a lot of like stereotypes that it's like trying to challenge, like one for like single motherhood, for instance. And as soon as the reveal of like the parent, like being a parent, is coming out, I was like, oh, people are gonna like start looking at her differently. Like I see where this is going. Like talk about like that stereotype and breaking down those stereotypes, and what inspired you to want to do that?
It's like so funny the way that when you tell a story that hasn't been told before, that it feels like it's strategic, but it's just
life.
It's just life. Yeah. And it's like, what's strategic is the suppression of new stories.
Yes.
But what is, really emerging in such an exciting way these days, especially in comedy, especially with Babes, especially with Survival of the Thickest, is people living their lives, artists drawing from their real lives, healing, doing the internal work so that what we can offer the world is uplifting and healing. And it's, you kind of got to like run through your creative process and then look back at it to be like, what does this mean? Or just wait to hear it reflected at you. I remember the first time that we heard Broad City was feminist, we were like, definitely. What? Like we had no idea that it was feminist. We had no idea it was going to be received that way. It just was that we were telling our story in a way that
stuff, and people just kind of said, this is what it is. And that's got to be even more rewarding, right? When like the people get that and you're just like, yes.
It is, because then you can almost feel the needle shift a little bit, right? Like we always have work to do. There's always going to be something to unpack. Like every generation is going to go through something, but between streaming and people having license to really share their stories and not feel like they have to fit into a box, lean into who they are because that's the special sauce, like you're just going to see better content, period.
And Michelle and I have been talking lately about the state of comedy. I mean, for the past couple of years, the shift in storytelling, and people using their platforms for hate and divisiveness and negging and trolling. And it doesn't matter it does not matter how big your base is or how much money you're making, it falls off. It just falls off the edge. It doesn't pull anybody to the center, it repels.
Yeah.
And we just, like Michelle and I as friends and as artists share our values in what our role is, what our jobs are, what our gifts are to be the vessel of.
Yeah.
You
could be funny as the day is long, but it's like, what are you saying?
Yeah, exactly.
And who are you helping?
That makes it. I needed to hear this right here, especially as someone who came up on TikTok and I see that, like people using their platforms for that. I'm just kind of like, it gave me a.
Good.
Good.
You're doing it right.
Now, obviously, the friendship is so strong between you two, obviously, but in this film, there's like a moment. I won't spoil anything that like challenges that friendship, right? I want to know, like in real life, like, have you ever broken up with a friend?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Can you like what was the moment? Can you like get into the why, oh yeah, there's people watching.
It's hard. Before ghosting was a term. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm so busy. It's hard because it's, when you think about confrontation, it's just like you did something and I'm gonna react, but it's not that. You just slowly start to grow apart. Jordan Carlos, one of our friends, said that breaking up with a friend is like nearly impossible. It's like trying to get rid of a garbage can. Like somehow it always rolls back and you're like, this thing, that's a terrible, don't quote me.
Where's the garbage can? Like,
that's really hard, but you have to, by saying no, and now I'm quoting Gabrielle Union, hi everyone, I'm on Instagram, even on the toilet. By saying no, you're saying yes and protecting your peace.
That's very powerful.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
I do.
You know.
Okay.
Well, this is I'm over here thinking about like the friendships that I've broken up with, and you're right. It's like really hard, especially if like it's somebody that you've been with for like decades, right? Like,
yeah, and it's like sometimes it is personal because it's personal between the two people. It's also like this actually isn't personal. I'm over here. That's there's also something that's not personal about it. That's just like I'm letting you know I'm over here. You're still here, and I'll see you on the dance floor.
I'll see you when I see you.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for joining the
This
South
is
by
such a great
Southwest
conversation.
studio.
Thank you.
It's a conversation,
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's hear my questions here.
Yeah.
It's great.
Pleasure.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm your host, Juju Green. You can catch the rest of these interviews at the South by Southwest YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/SXSW. We'll fix it in post. See Babes when it comes out eventually. It's going to be amazing. I loved it. You guys take care.
Come on, Juju,
I like to keep it real.
So
You know
good.
what I'm
Juju
saying?
Green.